Hi, my name's Gary Boyer, and I'm the Program Coordinator for Management here at ASAP program at the Center for Professional Studies. And I want to talk a little bit this morning about college writing. I talk with students all the time, folks who just are coming back to school after having been out for 10 or 15 or 20 years, and reasonably enough, they're concerned about their ability to write well enough to succeed in college. And their concern is well placed because academic writing and business writing, or writing for your job, are two very different things. I want to talk a little bit today about the difference between those two things, and then I want to talk about the characteristics of good academic writing and academic research. I'm not going to get very detailed. This is just a quick overview. So business writing, the kind of writing that you do for your job, and academic writing, the kind of writing that you're going to do for college, are different. In business writing, you were used to keeping things short. Your boss wanted things brief. You needed bullet points. You didn't want a lot of explanation, just make your point. And probably you were reflecting some kind of point of view, the industry's point of view, your company's point of view. In academic writing, on the other hand, you're going to want to go on at more length. You're going to want to explain things in detail. You're going to want to make points and defend and explain those points using research and using strong arguments. You don't want to have a bias. You're going to try to be as objective as possible, even though you may indeed be taking a stand on one side or another of an issue. And finally, of course, you're going to want to be much longer. You want explanations that are complete, not bullets. So from now on, no more bullets. Like I said, a lot of what you're going to be doing is going to be based on research that gets you the evidence you need to prove your point. Now, research isn't mysterious. You already know a lot about research, okay? If you've ever bought a car or a new computer or some software from a vendor, or even if you've hired a new employee, you've had to do some research. You've had to find out some things. You've had to make some comparisons. You've had to learn. In brief, you've had to become the expert in order to make a decision. And academic research is really no different. It's just a different subject. So when you've done your research, when you've begun to think about writing your academic essay, you've already done the most important first step, which is obviously to think. Now that seems self-evident, but you would be amazed at the number of people who begin to write before they start to think, and that's always trouble. So think before you write. Your job when you begin to write, having thought about your subject, is to come up with a thesis. That is to say, a point that you're going to explain or defend. How do you come up with a thesis? Well, you pose a question that's worth looking into. You read widely or spend more time on the internet looking for answers to that question. You interpret what you have read. You draw conclusions based on those interpretations. And you put it all together by looking back at your research for the evidence to support those conclusions that you have drawn. What's your point of view in an academic essay? Like I said, you are the expert. Whenever you write for college, you need to be in that position. You need to be able to say, I'm the expert, I'm the authority, I'm writing from the point of view of the authority. So you're thoughtful, you're knowledgeable, you're even-handed, and you're objective. Again, even if you're taking a side and arguing a point, your argument is an objective one. It's not based on opinion or whim. A really good structure for an academic essay is one that I came across years ago. is by a guy by the name of Sheridan Baker, who wrote a book called The Practical Stylist. And in that book, he describes what he calls the keyhole, which he uses as a metaphor to describe the shape of a good essay. Now, is this the only way to write an essay? No. There's lots of good ways to write an essay, but I will tell you that the keyhole always works. It's very, very reliable. Now, you'll be able to see this keyhole metaphor on your screen, but let me just describe the pieces, and you can see how it all fits together. Basically, the keyhole describes 3 parts of a good essay: an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. A beginning, a middle, and an end. And the beginning starts out with a very broad generalization. That's why it's the top of the triangle, which then narrows, and at the very last sentence of the introduction, you find your thesis statement. Your thesis statement describes your position and what you're going to do to prove your position. The body of the essay, which Baker makes kind of a rounded-sided rectangle, if you will, is all of the proof lined up, one thing after another. The beginning of the conclusion is a restatement of the thesis, almost in the same words that you used when you stated it in the first place, and then the triangle goes back out to a broad generalization at the end that makes your point and brings everything to a conclusion. Now, obviously, if you take a look at this picture of the keyhole, you'll see that the introduction and the conclusion are mirror images of each other. And that's intentional. They should be. You don't summarize in a conclusion of an academic essay. You return to the broad points. So that's the way the thing shapes. But what's in it? What's the style? Everybody talks about style. Oh my God, what's my writing style? Well, style's really not that complicated. There are really 6 steps to a good academic writing style. Step 1 is to assume that your reader knows nothing about your topic. Step 2, write the way you talk. Now, I know this seems contradictory because conversational English and written English are often different, but we're aiming at getting something out of your head and onto a screen or onto a piece of paper. And the best way to do that and to sound like you is to just write the way you talk, and then go ahead and clean it up, make it correct, make it good English. If you're writing the way you talk, you will come across as knowledgeable and as that expert that we talked about before. If you try for sophistication, fancy language, you're going to come across as somebody who's trying too hard. And it's going to be really boring. Finally, a couple of tips. Use subheads to title sections of your essay. It really helps the reader to know where he or she is in everything. From this day forward, even if it's a letter home to mom, title everything. It's really powerful stuff. Proofread. And then when you're finished proofreading, proofread again. And when you've done that, ask someone who you trust to read it and have them proofread it. Maybe even have them read it out loud to you. Obviously, I'm making a lot of this, but proofreading is huge. It's very, very, very important. It will really make the difference between a really good grade in college and not so good grade. So that's it. Like I said, not a lot of detail here today, but I hope it helps. Good luck. Have a good time in your ASAP studies.